So, yeah, so I thought, right, I can't have anything to do with this Jim guy because he's phoning people on me to force me to go for a walk with him, right? So what I did was I just ignored him and just would discourage him from coming in the garden. Like, say 2 words to him and go back in my house, and that was it. So my next door neighbour, who used to live there, was an African chap, and he said, so we were sitting one day outside and Jim was pulling his hair out, like literally pulling his hair out. Anyway, and then my daughter Leonie was coming up, so we had a wee barbecue outside, and I think Jim was annoyed, but I let him come over and say hello to her, like, and he's going, oh, look at the eye candy in the street, and Leonie's like, could you just tell him to go away, we need to go, Mum, shut the door. And I was like, you don't understand, Leonie, he's like a leech, right? So she was like, why do you live round these people? Anyway, I wasn't really noticing it, right? Because months were going by in between this. And I wasn't noticing him at all. And anyway, I really wasn't noticing him. Because I was here praying and listening to music, playing with the dog. I got a fish, I got 2 fish and 2 birds as well. And I took the bird cage out to clean the cage, and one of the birds ran away. He just flew away into the trees. I called them Fraser and Niles. Anyway, so I had all these animals, and I was looking after all these animals, and it was healing me so much, like a new life. And this lovely little bit of peace. And sleep, you know, anyway. So then after that, talking about the neighbours, what happened, yeah, so then after that, Jim comes into my garden one day and he was screaming, shouting, calling me a packy this and that. You phoned my work. You phoned my work. So, I don't know if he got... No, this was at exact time when he kept saying, come into the garden. He kept saying, come into my house. Come into my garden. I kept saying, I'm not coming, Jim. I'm busy. I've got the dog. I'm doing this. So he says, you phoned my work, and he woke me up. So I went over to see him and said to him, I just looked at him and his wife in their eyes. I went in after him because he ran into his house. I looked at him and his wife in his eyes and I said, I have not wronged either of you. God said, why did I look in their eyes? Because I wanted them to see my eyes, that I'm not lying. There's someone else telling things, phoning his work. Now, I have a giant parking space outside my house, but I do not have a car. And no one with a car really comes to visit me except Leonie. So it was like before. So I would, you know, it didn't bother me if there was anyone parking. And he wasn't, the bus that he used to bring round here, or car, or whatever, wasn't blocking my space. So why would I bother phoning about a bus space, right? So anyway, so I said, I have not wronged either of you. And he went mental, he started going crazy, and somehow the police were called. That's right, the police were called. So I was shocked. Why are the police coming to see me? They said, did you phone his work in a threatening manner? And I said, first of all, officer, even if I did phone his work, why are you here? Why are you here? What has it got to do with police? And they said, it's got nothing to do with us, but we're just asking you. And I said, I don't know where he works. How do I know where he works? And they said, and that was it. I can't remember if there was any other discussion. And I said, he called me a packy. And the officer that came into the house, both of them seemed angry with Jim, as if Jim had been telling them lies. And they said to me, if he ever puts his foot in your garden again, phone us and we will have him arrested or in trouble. And I said, thank you. So sometime later, the same thing happened again. Jim started shouting at me, saying I phoned his work. You're a bitch, you're a packy, and this and that. And the police came to me again, and I said, listen, why are you, and this wasn't long ago, I said, why are you coming to see me when I already told you I don't know where he works, and I don't, you know, I wouldn't do that, because why would I not do that? I would just either speak to him straight if he was blocking my parking space, which I don't have a car anyway, so why would it bother me where he parked? And I thought to myself, perhaps someone else is called and I don't want to, whoever's, none of my business, right? So Then the neighbour across the road, the larger lady, at the top of the house, I'm not going to go into the big story of when the neighbour behind and her got into a fight, but I'll just tell you what happened. His dog, the neighbour behind me's dog, accidentally ran in front of her grandson who was driving a car, a wee boy who was driving his bike, and knocked him off his bike. So the wee boy started crying. She thunderbolted across the road and started screaming all the way up the street at this neighbour, saying, "That's the last time I'm going to," like this. So he starts shouting at her, "You think you're the queen of the street?" And I was lying sunbathing, right, with headphones on. I don't even think I could hear them properly. But when I saw her running past, I was like, oh, and just left it. But when I saw the neighbour from the back coming round with his dog, raging, and I think he'd have been lying in his back having a drink, and his dog obviously got off the hook or whatever, and he was so angry, he looked like he was going to start a fight with Jim. Well, he was starting a fight with Jim, which is the larger lady's husband, or I don't know if his name's Jim. It must be, because she shouts Jim. So this is not the Jim who phoned the RSPC, it's the Jim, her larger lady's husband. So he starts shouting, they start shouting at each other. Her husband Jim's going like he was going to start fighting, and all I could see was the grandchildren. So I literally leapt up without thinking, put myself in between the two of them and my hands out and said, please just talk about it, not in front of the children, because there was this other little girl there as well. And I thought, who wants to see your granddad get into a fight? And all I've seen Jim do, the Jim that's the larger lady's husband, is do his garden. And I must admit, I did enjoy watching him doing his garden, and thought, I don't want this Jim to get beaten up just because his wife ran round the corner. Like, it's none of my business, but I just thought, why should these little children suffer that? It would be upsetting for them. He's an older man, a granddad, right? So now I regret it. I wish I'd just lay there and let whatever happen, right? And I said to the guy at the back neighbour, I says, you better just get back in your garden. You've been drinking as well. As if to say, even if someone was right or wrong, this could go into a bigger situation, and why should we? You know. And that was it. Then that larger lady said to me again, if you ever want rid of Jim, in fact, when I first moved here, she said, if you ever want rid of Jim, he drinks all night and then gets up first thing in the morning and drives a school bus. Just phone somebody, I don't know who she said, and they'll arrest him. Now, she's obviously done it, and they've not done it, not arrested him. And I do think that he deliberately does wake her up at midnight with his bottles, because maybe he doesn't like her, maybe he's annoyed with her, I don't know, right? That's their business. Now, at this point, can you hear anything in my voice that I have been interfering with my neighbours, that I want to have anything to do with my neighbours? No. My contentment was in my own house, which is supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. Isn't it? You're supposed to mind your own business, and, you know, and then I'll tell you one other time, right? The next door neighbour, the African guy that used to live there, I think he'd said something to me like somebody was annoyed with him or something. In the back of my mind, one day I came home with the dog and his door was wide open and there was no sign of him. And I was a wee bit worried, because I thought, what if he's had a heart attack and he's upstairs? It's very unusual for him to leave his door wide open. So I went over to the larger lady's house and said, should I do anything? Like, what will I do? And she just said, mind your own business. Not nastily, just, I wouldn't do anything. Just mind your own business. And I said, all right, then I will. So I just left it. But then the next day, the neighbour told me somebody tried to break into his house and he was dealing with it. Don't worry. So that was it. I was glad I minded my own business. So I was learning how to deal with situations like this. I was never allowed out as a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not lying to you. I got dropped off and picked up everywhere. I didn't even know if I went round the corner of my house I would be lost. If you can't understand that, I'm sorry for you. You know, when you're brought up like that, it's like every second is counted for. You know, I didn't ever have an hour to myself, 15 minutes to myself. Even when I would have a bath, my whole family would come in. Mum, look at my new toy. Mum, look at, and I'd be standing in the bath with 4 kids, and then my husband would come in and say, what's for dinner? And I burst out laughing, like, I was like, can't I get 5 minutes? And they were like, and I said, you know what? It's a lovely problem to have. come in the bathroom. Do you know what I mean? They were all tiny anyway, and the first 3 were girls, so they were tiny, yeah? So I'm going to have to do another video about the neighbours.